is live, right? So I will just start. Okay, let me begin with my prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Saraswati Devi Pranamami Hari. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, knowledge of the absolute. So before we begin, let's pay our obeisances to Shri Shri Radha Govinda. And let's understand. Okay, knowledge of the absolute. Knowledge, the purpose of this knowledge is to understand Krishna only. Who is God? Who is Krishna? What is my relationship with him? And then what do I do in this relationship? No, that's the purpose of this knowledge. And then we also know Bhagavad Gita gives us information about Sambandha Jnana and Videya Jnana. Then there is Prayojan. Sambandha is usually Manohar Punjabi Prabhu is the one who is very active. Prabhu, can you give us, if you know, can you tell us about Sambandha Jnana, Videya Jnana and Prayojana? What does that mean? Can you just briefly answer that question? Does anyone know? What does Sambandha, Videya and Prayojan mean? Everybody's so quiet. Prabhu, are you able to unmute? Okay, let me continue. Sambandha is Sambandha. Yeah, I'm sure you heard this in the 18 Days course also. It refers to the, somebody is writing in the chat, let me see. Okay. So Sambandha is establishing our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, what is the relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Devera Varupa Hoye, Krishnera Nitya Das. So in Abhideya, you know there is a relationship. Now you act according to that relationship. So according to that constitutional relationship, you start acting. So there is activity. And then we do sadhana bhakti, a lot of prescribed duties. Then, when there is relationship, there is service. Then prayojan. Prayojan is the ultimate goal of life. It's to develop love of Godhead. Go back to Goloka Vrindavana, reach the lotus feet of Krishna. So let's continue our okay, let's go over this summary here. This is what we did in chapter 6. Advancing in yoga through detached work, the yoga rudha stage, giving up work, further stages in the practice of yoga, necessity of controlling the turbulent mind, the destination of the unsuccessful yogi, and the topmost yogi. So in Dhyana Yoga chapter, we learned that there are 2 stages for Dhyana Yoga. Yoga Ruruksha stage, the beginning practice stage, where the yogi practices a lot of, there's so much to it, right? We learned what are the different stages he has to go through. And then after that is the Yoga Rudha stage, advanced stage, where he is actually perfected his practice. So these various practices are to actually realize the soul, and also, he wants to reach the stage where he can realize see the super soul. But the reason behind for all these practices in Ashtanga Yoga is to control the mind. When Arjuna heard all this, he said, "Oh Krishna, I find controlling the mind more difficult than controlling the wind." So he himself said, I cannot do Ashtanga Yoga because it sounds like a very difficult practice for me. So, and in yoga, it becomes very, very necessary. It is necessary to control the mind. So, control the mind by practice and detachment. Then Arjuna asked, what is the destination of an unsuccessful yogi? What will happen to a person who does all this, follows all these processes and everything? And what if, for some reason he cannot achieve success? So Krishna answered that question also. He said he will be given another opportunity. So whatever we do, there is always some benefit, eternal benefit to it. Whatever we do in Krishna consciousness, there is benefit. Even if we do 1%, in the next birth we can start from 2%. It's not like we failed just because we did very little practice, very little service, uh, efforts in our spiritual path. Doesn't mean in the next birth again, we'll fail. So Krishna will provide us an opportunity to continue from where we stopped. And the topmost yogi is Bhakti Yogi. So Bhakti Yoga is the highest form of yoga. So we learned that. So this chapter, from 7th chapter, we learn about Bhakti Yoga. So these are the different sections. This is the summary. Knowing Krishna in full by hearing about him. Knowing Krishna as the source of both the material and spiritual energies. The three modes are controlled by Krishna. Therefore, we have to surrender. The impious lack knowledge and never surrender to Krishna. The pious develop knowledge and then surrender. Others who have no knowledge, those who surrender to demigods, those who are impersonalists. We learn about that. The bewilderment of the living entity and his freedom through knowledge of Krishna. And Krishna also mentions many things, and he's about Brahman. So in the next chapter, we learn about that. So the middle six chapters talk about devotional service. It is like a secret, It is like if Bhagavad Gita is like a sandwich, the first six chapters are about Karma Yoga, right? How to achieve bhakti through Karma Yoga. The middle six is the most delicious part. In the sandwich, that's how it is, right? The most delicious part, the most interesting thing is in the center. So these six chapters are very, very sweet, and they are about devotional service, Bhakti Yoga. The last six chapters are about Jnana Yoga, how to achieve Bhakti through Jnana. So that's what it is about. So here we'll learn hearing about Krishna reveals knowledge about Krishna's material and spiritual energies. So four types of people who surrender to Krishna, four types of people who don't, impious people who don't worship Krishna, and some people worship demigods. We'll understand why they worship demigods. And then once people who are free from sins and delusion, they actually do determined bhakti. And Krishna mentions Brahman and many other things related to Brahman and other things. And then in the chapter 8, he elaborates what is Brahman, what are the things, Krishna, Arjuna will ask him some questions and he'll answer. So, synopsis of chapter 7. Lord Krishna explains, okay, in chapter 6, best of all yogis, a yogi who always thinks of him in devotion, concentrate on him in full faith. That's what he said. How do we concentrate on him with full faith? Steady concentration on him. In the last, towards the end of 6th chapter, that's what Krishna said. Just how to concentrate on him with complete faith. How do we do that? We'll understand from this chapter. So chapter 7 begins with stress process of hearing, the way of acquiring knowledge by descending process as the only process. Knowing Krishna by the process of hearing about him. Knowing Krishna as source of matter and spirit. Krishna controls the modes of material nature. The impious never surrender, pious do. Surrendering to demigods and impersonalism. Bewilderment of living entities and freedom by knowing Krishna. We'll understand this in detail. We will go one slide at a time, we'll understand. Knowing Krishna in full by hearing about him. Krishna requests Arjuna to hear of both his material and spiritual energies and declares that the transcendentalist who succeeds in truly knowing him is most rare. So, what does this mean? Let's see what it is. Who would like to recite this verse? You can just raise your hand and recite. It will be a nice way of learning how to recite also. Yes, Prabhuji, please go on. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Mave askata mana partha yogam yunjan mat astrayah asmasayam samagraham mam yatha yasyasi tat shunu. Now here, O son of Pratha, Arjuna, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full and free of doubt. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Maya sakta manapartha yogam yunjan madashaya asamshayam samagram mam asamshayam. Yatha jnasyasi tachruno. So what's he saying here? So actually in 7th chapter, we'll understand the nature of Krishna consciousness. So what is Krishna consciousness? So Krishna is full of all opulences and how he manifests all this material world and everything, all this is described in this chapter. And in the first 6 chapters, actually, we understood things like we got instructions about how to understand the self and how to understand the super self and the process of self-realization by all the different yoga systems, like Jnana Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and also, how to discriminate between matter and spirit. All this was, this was instructed. Now he is telling steady concentration of the mind upon me, upon Krishna. Only then you will know what is full and scientific knowledge, transcendental knowledge, what is absolute truth, what are living entities, who are living entities, what is this material nature, how everything came into being, what is this manifestation that has happened. We know only this, what we see. We know our planet. There are so many other planets. Science is trying to discover. But so this one, Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, we know there are many, so many planets and so many universes, so many things are there. How did all this manifest? All this we'll understand only by steady concentration of the mind upon the Lord Himself. So Krishna is saying that. So how do we gain this knowledge? Krishna is telling us how. There are 3 ways of acquiring knowledge. Do you know about it? What are the 3 ways of acquiring knowledge? Have you heard about Pratyaksha Praman, Anuman Praman, Shruti Praman? Have you heard about that? Okay, let me tell you. So there are 3 ways of acquiring knowledge. Now Krishna is telling us how to acquire knowledge. Pratyaksha Praman means it's like what I see, I believe. See, our material senses, whatever we have, they're not perfect, right? We have our own limitations. We cannot say whatever I see, I believe. So that's how I understand things. And then this Anuman Praman. It's like I just, it's guesswork. It's like, oh, maybe, this is how it is. Estimating. It's like you have a cooker in front of you, pressure cooker, and you're just estimating how much heat is inside, how much pressure is inside. You're trying to estimate. That is one kind of learning. Shruti Praman means hearing from the Shastras, Shastric knowledge, learning from an authority, from a person who is like a guru, who has learned everything by hearing from his guru. So the knowledge is passed on like that. Oral reception. That's what Krishna is saying here. Hear from me about myself. So hearing process is stressed here and it's very, very powerful. So we should be very careful where we are giving our oral reception. Whatever we hear, we try to imbibe that. We all the time we hear people gossiping, talking so much about so many things, and people are hearing. It could be news, it could be somebody's speech, whatever we are hearing. Many times we should be very careful because whatever we hear, we are actually imbibing all those things and it is actually affecting our consciousness. So it becomes very, very important to hear the right things. And again, we should be hearing about Krishna and his activities. And so Krishna didn't say, I'll tell you something, I will show you something. Like, you can just estimate yourself. No, he's saying, just hear from me or my representative. That's what Krishna's information is. We should learn from a bona fide spiritual master. We understood that from 4th chapter also. So knowledge of the absolute. Let's go over this. Lord Krishna explains how to know him by the process of hearing. Lord Krishna, absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead. Okay, there are 3 aspects, 3 features. Brahman, impersonal. Brahmajyoti. Brahman, realization is, the Brahmajyoti is also coming from the supreme personality of Godhead. So the next level is Paramatma and then Bhagavan. And this we learned in 2nd chapter, the 3 features of understanding God, right? And final Bhagavan is the ultimate realization. Then a living entity is a spirit soul. And how do you realize this? By different yoga processes. We are capable of elevating to self-realization by following all the yoga processes Krishna gave us in the first 6 chapters. Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yogi, ultimate, his destination is Brahman, Brahmajyoti. Actually, he's focusing, is like a, that's his goal. Ashtanga Yogi is trying to realize the Paramatma feature. And Brahman and Paramatma, both these features are partial realization. So only a Bhakti Yogi realizes Bhagavan by concentrating, focusing his mind on Krishna. So all this information is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada gives lot of references in his purports. How do we concentrate, focus our mind on Krishna? By engaging in 9 processes of devotional service, which begins with hearing from Lord Krishna or his devotees. So that's the first process. All we have to do is hear. It is like if you find a perfect teacher, they say 10 minutes or 5 minutes with a perfect teacher gives us so much information compared to hours of reading a book. If you have a good teacher, you can learn faster. So it is like that. On our own, we won't learn anything much. So if you're hearing from an authorized teacher, you really learn the proper, in the proper way. The constant hearing of Lord, it purifies your heart, because Paramatma is in the heart. He will actually purify our heart. All this mode of ignorance, mode of passion, will slowly give up all that. Will come to mode of goodness, and from there we can practice and stay in the mode of goodness. Try to stay in the mode of goodness, and slowly we have to get to the Shuddha Sattva platform, which is purified stage. It is pure goodness. Devotee develops transcendental knowledge. By after hearing, what happens, our faith matures. We'll become very fixed in our devotional service. The more we hear, the more we fall in love with Krishna. That's how it is. And then the transcendental knowledge, which is actually dormant, it's already there. That will, Krishna will start revealing himself, because that is his mercy too. We cannot learn everything by ourselves. It's Krishna's mercy. We are understanding Krishna and understanding what is absolute truth and how all this is happening. How do people really become self-realized? That is also the mercy of the Lord. So he becomes fixed in devotional service, and he becomes free from the modes of passion, ignorance, lust, and greed. And what happens? All the impurities are wiped out. And once the impurities are gone, we are situated in pure goodness. And then the devotee becomes enlivened in devotional service, understands signs of Krishna perfectly. Okay. Now, next few slides are even more interesting. We learn about his different energies. So, complete knowledge of absolute truth we can achieve just by hearing from a pure devotee who himself has learned from his guru. So everything is Shastric knowledge. Okay, see, 9 processes of devotional service. Hearing, then that is Shravanam, chanting, Kirtanam, remembering, Smaranam, then Pada Sevanam, serving Lord's lotus feet, deity worship, Archanam, Vandanam, that is praying, Dasyam, becoming a servant of Krishna. That's what we are actually, that is our original constitutional position. We are all servants of God. Then Sakyam, friendship, Atma Nivedanam, complete surrender. So this is from Prahlad Maharaj chapter, it is mentioned here. Bhagavatam 7.5, 20-24. So it says, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Pada Sevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam, Sakyam Atmanivedanam. So it says, Iti Pumsar Pita Vishnu, Bhakti Stenava Lakshana, Kriyate Bhagavati Atha, Tanmanye Aditam Uttamam. So who would like to read this? What did Prahlad Maharaj say in this verse? Again, Manohar Panjabi Prabhu has raised his hand. Thank you, Prabhuji. You can read. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Prahlad Maharaj said, hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship with 16 types of paraphernalia, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him. In other words, serving him with the body, mind, and words. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you. Why he is considered perfect, we'll understand. Okay. So one more verse here. So usually only you are reciting. I don't know, others are little hesitant. Okay, I will recite this verse. Prabhuji, you can read. Jnanam teyam savijnanam idam vakshyami asheshatah yajgnatva neha bhuyo anyaj jnatavyam avishishyate. Prabhuji, would you like to read the translation?
Yes. Hare Krishna Mataji. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous, by knowing which there shall remain nothing further to be known. Hare Krishna.
So Krishna is going to tell us something that will attract us to him. Prabhupada says in one of the speeches, Prabhupada says, it's like you present someone, like say this is Mr. John. Tell someone like this is Mr. John, you have to start loving him. Like, you just start respecting him, worship him, and this is him. So people like, who is John, right? That's how it is. When God, we know God is great, but how great he is. Suddenly you present someone and say, so if you know, oh, John is so great, he has so many qualities, he's like capable of so many things, and he has power and he has opulence, then oh wow, they have that awe like wow, so great. And then they start, the more they hear, the more they learn about him, then they start respecting him for all his qualities. Then they start, serving him, and then they worship, that's how it is. So if we know about Krishna, what will happen? Automatically, we'll become attracted to him. So that is why he's telling us all this. Complete knowledge means transcendental knowledge, knowledge of the phenomenal world, the spirit behind it, and the source of both of them. So who is the source? Krishna himself. So that's what we should understand from this chapter. It's like this whole material world is functioning because of the spirit only. Like you can compare the material body to car. Car is matter. Car won't move by itself, right? A driver enters the car, starts the car, he drives it. That's when it functions. It's like that. Material body is functioning because of the spirit soul which has entered the body. So, and he's telling, if you know all this, there's nothing further to be known. So it is like, no, we will not get this kind of information anywhere. Only Bhagavad Gita is saying this. We may read so many books. No speaker will say, I'll tell you something. After that, there is nothing further for you to know. No one will say that. So we can understand how important it is to understand this, what Krishna is saying. Knowledge of the absolute. Lord Krishna explains full knowledge, phenomenal and numinous. Matter, complete knowledge, transcendental knowledge. Phenomenal, knowledge acquired or perceived by senses. Okay, numinous, knowledge about spirit. Okay, not acquired. Can you read? Can somebody read that? It's not so. Again, Prabhu, would you like to read this?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Numinous, knowledge about spirit, not acquired through senses. Object as it is, not necessarily perceived by senses. Knowing this, nothing more to be known. Complete principles. Controller of both Lord Krishna.
Okay, controls the spirit and matter, both.
Lord Krishna explains to Arjuna qualifications. Devotee, friend.
Okay, so why is he explaining this to Arjuna? Because Arjuna is a friend and he is a devotee, and he will, in the next few chapters, we also learn he is explaining all this because Arjuna is not envious of Krishna. He's a non-envious person. He's very pure. He's a very high. He's a highly elevated devotee of Krishna. That is why he deserves to understand and hear all this. So, controller of both is Krishna. He is cause of all causes, source of all knowledge. He is the only object of meditation for all yoga process. That should become clear from this chapter. Let's move on. Okay, who would like to recite this verse? Does anyone else want to try? Everybody is so quiet.
I read, Mataji.
Puja Mataji has raised her hand. Yes, Mataji, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, sorry.
मनुष्यानं सहस्रेषु कश्चिद् यताति सिद्धये यता तम् अभिसिद्धानं कश्चिन्मां वेति तत्त्वतः. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. Hare Krishna.
Whenever there is a line on A, you have to drag Mataji. Like Manushya Naam. That's one. Siddha Naam. Mom. This is the mom because you see the line on A.
Okay, Mataji.
Thank you for reciting. So Lord Krishna now he goes on to build how rare this knowledge is. He says out of so many living entities, after so many cycles of births and deaths, some may become perfect, right? One of them can become perfect. He'll become a Siddha. He'll understand what is the purpose of life and I'm a part and parcel of God. He will have some realization. Then I have to do some activity also. Then out of those Siddhas, only one will really understand Krishna. That's what he's saying. It's very, very rare. The person really knows me. It's really very rare. It's like running a marathon. Okay, thousands join and run, but very few reach the finishing line, right? It's like after so many births and after so much efforts we go through, finally we may reach a stage where we understand, okay, this is God and this is my position and what am I supposed to do? What is the purpose of my life? Everything. So Krishna is again emphasizing about how to acquire the knowledge. It's about hearing about him and we learn about him, and it's like Bhagavad Gita is the foundation for our understanding the absolute truth. If you understand Bhagavad Gita completely properly, that means you know what is absolute truth, who is God, and how we relate to God, everything. knowledge of the Absolute. I want to finish this chapter today, but there are so many slides. Let's see. We'll try to do it. Let's see. Next. Rarely man achieves perfection. Out of perfected souls, rarely some understand Krishna. Different grades of men interested in animal propensities. See, usually people are worried about, their own eating, sleeping, protecting themselves, like Prabhu says, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. They live with this consciousness, animal propensities. Hardly anyone is interested in transcendental knowledge of self-realization. So not everyone is interested in that, right? So transcendental knowledge, soul, super soul, body, absolute truth. So what did we learn in first chapters? Understanding self, super soul, and process of realization. The difference between soul and matter. Jnana yoga, Dhyana yoga. So understanding Krishna. So the absolute truth is cause of all causes, the supreme personality of Godhead, and his full in fixed all his opulences, and he can only be known by process of Krishna consciousness, engaged in devotional service. Process of bhakti is not easy to practice as proclaimed by impersonalists. Process of devotional service, Upanishads, Puranas, Narada Pancharatra, simply disturbance to society. What this means is devotional service, that is devotional service of the Lord, that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures, is simply disturbance to the society. No one can say, I know everything. And if they have not studied scriptures, if they don't have knowledge of Vedas or all this Shastric knowledge is not there, but they say, I know everything, I can come, I'll teach the devotional service. And there are many gurus, they don't have a guru, but they become self-proclaimed gurus. They won't have read anything, they won't have understood anything, but they say, oh, I have understood something, so I'll teach you. They want to speak what people want to hear. So that's what, that's just misleading the crowd. That's what this means. So you have to be very careful. So Krishna himself says, no one knows me as I am. He'll say that in so many verses in Bhagavad Gita. Even yogis, jnanis, Adi Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya, he also says it's very difficult to understand Krishna. And then because, see, it's very difficult for many people to understand God can come and play in Nanda Maharaja's house. He was crawling in Nanda Maharaja's house. Ramaya was feeding him butter. For many people, it's very difficult to just digest that. Only a devotee, a pure devotee can actually understand. He can actually appear here among us and, have that sweet relationship with all his devotees. So if a non-devotee, how much ever he studies all this Vedic literature, Sanskrit and whatever, he may not realize that completely. And because Krishna also is specially inclined to his devotees. He's not partial, but if somebody is showing some interest in learning about him, he will reveal about himself more and more. So that's how it is. So he'll be very pleased if somebody is actually showing, transcendental loving service, offering him a lot of service and chanting and showing a lot of interest in all this, then he himself will provide an opportunity and provide, everything that so that we can progress in our spiritual journey and understand him. Because Rupa Goswami also says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we cannot understand God, we cannot understand Krishna just by our blunt material senses or just by reading books. Not happening, not going to happen. So you have to perform some activity. Knowing Krishna as the source of both the material and spiritual energies. So one more verse, in the next verse, who will recite this one? There is Anirvan Prabhuji is there, Puja Mataji, Param, Pravina Manoj. So many names I'm seeing, but you can just try it. Then you can, if you're wrong, we'll learn. That's all. It's okay to, okay. Let us give a chance to Puja Mataji. Manoj Punjabi Prabhuji, please recite the next one. Thank you so much for participating, both of you. Yes, Mataji, please recite.
भूमिर् अपो Analo vayu Kammano buddhir eva cha ahankara itiyam me bhina prakritir astadha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these eight constitute my separate material energies. Hare Krishna.
Mataji. So science of God means analysis of the constitutional position of God and his diverse energies, so many energies. So the components of the material manifestation, whatever we see, everything is did all this manifest. They're all separated energies of the Lord. So Krishna is the original cause of all this material manifestation. He's saying these are all my separated energies. The five gross creations. They're all manifestations of physical sound, touch, form, smell, taste. That's what it is. Five gross creations are earth, water, fire, air, ether, and subtle energies, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So even this Brahma Jyoti, which is the ultimate goal of all the impersonalists, that is also a spiritual energy which is manifested in the spiritual sky. That is also originating from Krishna only, from Goloka Vrindavana. That is also emanating from him. So everything rests upon Krishna, and he is the cause of all the causes. So we should understand that. And then how does matter function? We know that that's because of the spirit in it. It is like a body is growing, right? A baby's body becomes bigger, then we grow into, we become, it will become youthful, then it will grow into middle age, and then it will become very old. The body is changing. All these changes are happening because there is a spirit soul inside the body. Just like that, the whole material world is functioning because of Vishnu. Okay, super soul is there. So that is why it's happening. So if somebody says, no, this is all some chemicals and they all come together and somehow it's all functioning, yes, there is no God, then we can question them. Like, how can they prove the origin of everything? What is the origin then? Dead matter cannot give birth to dead matter, right? Another something else. You cannot say there is this nice example. If there's a bag of rice and you see some worms, you cannot say rice gave birth to worms. Of course, there were some eggs hatched, big worms came out. And if you see something inside a pencil, for instance, we cannot say pencil gave birth to this. Because pencil itself is a dead matter. So something like that. Dead matter cannot move until there is some spirit in it, right? So that is very important to understand. And then this Paramatma manifestation, who is in our heart, is also temporary. Even Bhagavatam says that. So let's move on. So we can, science says we should observe, we should experiment, we have our own inference and everything. But ultimately, we learn all this from Shastras only. That's the best way to understand things, and that's the perfect way to understand. Okay. One more verse. Manor Prabhuji, do you want to recite this one?
Anyam prakritam vidi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Material nature is Prakriti. And we, the souls, living entities, are spirit souls, right? So we are all superior nature. We belong to the superior nature, superior energy of the Supreme Lord, Para Prakriti. We are all called Para Prakriti. Spirit is Para Prakriti. And the material nature, both forms, the gross and subtle. Subtle is mind, intelligence, also. Gross is earth, water, air, fire, and all that. So both are inferior energy, Apara Prakriti. And the superior energy is actually exploiting the inferior energy. And we are actually under the influence of this matter and illusory material energy. That is why we are forgetting our superior nature. That is why we are forgetting, because we are contact of matter, and we are under the influence of the illusory material energy. And only when we are free from this material contamination, that's when we can completely become liberated. So that is real liberation, when we come out of this illusory material, contamination. That's when we become liberated. Real liberation is actually surrender to Krishna, surrender to God. That is real liberation. Otherwise, our false ego, it will keep on telling us, oh, you are matter only. Like, I can keep on thinking, I am body, I am this body, this is my name, this is my family, this is my country. Oh, these are the designations I have. We get attached to all this and think, this is me. But actually, this is just for this lifetime, right? We don't know what we were before this. After giving up this body, what will become, we don't know. So everything is temporary. So Arjuna also is a Kshatriya only in this lifetime. Before that, Krishna said, I know you what you were before. You don't remember, but I remember. It was Naranarayan Rishis. There are eternal associates of Arjuna and many other devotees who were very closely associated with Krishna. There are eternal associates of Lord Krishna. They might forget, but Krishna will not forget. He knows past, present, future, everything. So it's like that. Because of false ego, I think, oh, look, everything is mine. This is my house. That is my pen. This is this. Nothing is ours. Actually, body also does not belong to us. So only a self-realized person will actually realize that. Until then, it will all remain a theory. We can keep reading and trying to remind ourselves. But, we have to realize that also. Okay, there is something here. Who would like to read this? All created beings. It just helps to, interact. Otherwise, I'll keep reading. I'll only keep talking, and it make it a little bit boring for you all. You could read the slides or
Mataji. All created beings have their source in these two natures, of all that is material and all that is spiritual.
I'm so sorry. I'll share the screen again. That's my internet connection.
Yes, Mataji. All created beings have their source in these two natures, of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world. Knowing for certain that I am both the origin, it's covered, Mother. Yeah.
Origin and the dissolution. So Krishna is complete energetic person. Possesses different separated and internal entities. He is the original cause of everything. As a fragmented part and parcels of Krishna, we can create something. Like we all are creating. Create buildings, big skyscraper, all there because we are fragmental parts of Krishna. But we cannot create the universe. We cannot create another planet or something other than that we cannot do. So we have limitations. So that's how it is. And qualitatively, we are equal to Krishna, but not quantitatively. We'll never become equal to God. Our position is always inferior, like subordinates, servants of the God. We'll never become equal to God. That we have to understand. Somebody saying you are also God, I'm also God, we all are equal, and that is just not supported by our Shastra. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, all these literatures are giving us proper information. We should understand it accordingly. Then Katha Upanishad also says, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. That means Nitya means eternal. Nityana means plural. So there are many Nityas, so many living entities. Nityas, so many eternal living entities. There is one Nitya who is supreme. That supreme being is actually controlling all the other living entities. So that information is there in Katha Upanishad. And we are all conscious, but the Supreme is supremely conscious. Again, same thing, summary of that. Krishna's plenary expansions. We'll discuss this now. Purusha incarnations, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and Kshirodakshay Vishnu. And material creation, Prakriti. So, Mahavishnu creates total material energy, Mahatattva. Garbhodakshay Vishnu enters into every universe to create diversities. And then Kshirodakshay Vishnu enters into every atom to maintain as super soul. Paramatma is in everybody's heart, every living entity's heart. Those who do not know this science, they don't know about this, what they'll say, oh, material world is for enjoyment. It is meant for our enjoyment. Life is meant for our enjoyment. This material world is there so that we can enjoy. So just, they say, just be happy, live a happy life. This life is for enjoying only. They don't know that, these three Purusha incarnations are there. And what is our purpose? Why are we here? All this is how they will talk. So living entities they will say living entities are just Purushas. We ourselves are Purushas. So we are the cause of everything. We are the controllers. We are the enjoying living entities. So they will speak like that. But actually we know Lord is the only enjoyer. He is the only controller. And He is the cause of all causes. Then all activities are directed by three Vishnus. Material world is actually temporary. Ingredients of material world are separated energy of Lord. Gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether. Subtle elements are mind, intelligence, and false ego. Okay, let's go on to the next one. There are so many slides so that we really understand what's in this chapter. Besides inferior energy, Lord Krishna's superior energy are living entities. Krishna's energies, Shaktis, source of origin and dissolution. There are energies and there is one energetic person controlling the energies. So there is Antaranga Shakti, internal energy, which is superior. Tatastha Shakti, marginal, which is superior. And then Bahiranga, external, inferior. Material world. Gross and subtle, again, how they're all working and whose the origin, everything is given clearly here. Jiva, soul. Soul is exploiting, the living entities are exploiting material world in conditioned state. And liberation means free from material illusion, I and mine. Okay. Who would like to recite this one? Okay, you can keep your hands raised so that, Yes, Puja Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mata parataram nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idim prottam shutre manigana iva. There is no truth superior to that.
Here it is. Oh, conqueror of wealth.
Okay. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So, Atta Parataram Nanyat, Kinchidasti Dhananjaya, Mai Sarvam Idam Protam, Sutre Mani Gana Iva. It's like, he's holding everything together. Says there is no truth superior to that supreme person, because he is the supermost, he is the smaller than the smallest, and he is greater than the greatest. He is situated as a silent tree and illuminates the transcendental sky, and as a tree spreads its roots, spreads extensive energies. If you read Ishopanishad and all, you'll understand even more and more. It's like his energies are everywhere, still he is a person. He was walking around as one person, right? He's in Goloka Vrindavana, enjoying his eternal pastimes, but at the same time, his energies are everywhere. So that is God, that is Krishna. It's so difficult to understand him. So he's holding everything together. He's Adi, Anadi, and then he does have a form. He's not impersonal. God is not just energy. He is person and he has a form. So that is very important to understand. That is why Prabhupada has made it very clear. Supreme personality of Godhead. So he has he is a person, he has a personality. And he is the Supreme. So again, who would like to read this one? Different opulences of Krishna. Pooja Mataji, Smatri, go ahead, please.
What or who? Taste. Of what among whom? Water. Light. Moon or sun. Om. Vedic mantra. Sound.
It is
Ether.
like this. It is he is the taste in water. Like we say, water does not have any taste, but actually, water does not have any taste. But Krishna is saying, "I'm the taste in water." And water does have some taste. See, he is the taste. And then among light, he is the moon and sun. He represents that. And in Vedic mantras, is Om. Every Vedic mantra starts with Om. And he is telling in this verse that he is that. So, and then among his sound in ether. And in man, he is the ability in man. Like people become so jealous sometimes, right? When the world is full of envy only. Somebody is performing so well, they have some talent, they have skills. You're like, wow, look at this person, he's doing better than me. How can he be better? What I like what he have what he has, but I don't like the fact that he has it. That kind of envy, jealousy is going on. But Krishna is saying he is that ability. He has given that ability. He represents that ability in that man. If somebody has some special talent, that means that is a gift from God. So it's like indirectly we are feeling envious to Krishna. If we are being envious to that person, somebody has envy towards somebody, that means he is envious to Krishna only, towards Krishna. That's not a good quality to have. Material world is full of that. So the ability in a person is, again, that is Krishna. His fragrance in earth, and then his heat in fire. You cannot separate fire and heat, right? Fire is hot. So he is that. And among all that lives, he is life. Among ascetics is penance. Among all that exists, he is the original seed. He's saying, I am the place, I am the seed giving father. So he's the original seed. And among all the intelligent people, he is the intelligence. And among all powerful men, his prowess, the strong, devoid of passion and desire, his strength, not contrary to religious principles, his sex life also. In the sense, if it is all prescribed, everything, a grahastha life actually is recommended in such a way. And if they are having a child, they would have a garbhadana sanskara, and they would want a good soul to come to their family. They would pray such that, they would pray to God, saying that God give me a child actually God conscious. Now we want a good soul to enter our family, and they would try to bring up children in that consciousness. They would want Krishna conscious, God conscious children. That is not against religious principles. So that was actually okay. That is actually allowed, recommended. So that is fine, as long as it's all done, within that rule, with all the rules and regulations. It's all allowed. That's what it means. So this is what Krishna is talking about, is different opulences. Okay, let's go on. Okay, there's a verse here. Who would like to recite? It's either Puja Mataji or Manohar Punjabi Prabhu. Everybody just try. Yes, Prabhuji, please. Right.
Krishna Mataji.
Krishna.
Yacheva Satvika Bhava Rajasastamasascha ye Mata Avritti Tanvidi Natav Aham Teshu Te Mahi. Know that all states of being, be they of goodness, passion, or ignorance, are manifested by my energy. I am, in one sense, everything, but I am independent. I am not under the modes of material nature, for they, on the contrary, are with me. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Let's understand this now. See. So all material activities in this world are conducted by the three modes of material nature: mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And he is the creator of the modes of nature. Everything is emanating from him only, but he is not subject to them. It's like a king enters the jail. That is the best example Prabhu gives. Like there is a prison and all the prisoners are suffering inside, right? They are undergoing some punishment. So that's how we are. We are in this material world, going through our own miserable condition. Okay, and the king enters. The king is the one who is given punishment. He is the controller of everything. When he enters prison, the rest of them look at him and think, oh, look, another prisoner is here. Because he looks like a person. They look like themselves, right? So that's how our condition is. We think, oh, Krishna is also just like us. But actually, he is the lawmaker. He is not under the influence of goodness, passion, ignorance, nothing. So here, Nirguna actually means he is the, doesn't mean he does not have a form, it does not have anything. That just means that, he's not under the influence of all these modes of material nature. He's not affected by the modes. All material activities are conducted under the three modes. These modes emanate from the Supreme Lord and he is not subordinate to them. Analogy given is king or lawmaker is not subject to state laws. Okay, the three modes are controlled by Krishna, therefore we have to surrender. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who I am above the modes and inexhaustible. Okay, there is one verse here. I will just quickly go through it. Daivi hesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya ame vaye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. So this divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So there are different classes of people. They function according to their modes of nature, and they have their own psychological and biological activities accordingly. Like mode of goodness, if somebody is in the mode of goodness, mostly Brahmanas, they are in the mode of goodness. That's how it is. And Kshatriyas are in the mode of passion, and Vaishyas are mode of passion and ignorance. And if somebody is completely in ignorance, they are Shudras. And there is somebody lesser than that also. They are like, animals. They lead a life that is similar to animal life. But nothing is permanent. All this keeps changing. The moment we give up the body, we can enter another body based on our activities and consciousness at the time of death. So this is all temporary. The moment we surrender, everything changes. And Lord himself takes us out of this miserable conditions. That's what he's saying. So let's go on. Krishna explains how to get free from the mode. Bound by clutches of Maya, Nityabhadda, living entity is eternally bound. Very difficult to overcome. And it's controlled by the Lord himself. It's not easy to overcome the clutches of Maya. Divine energy. Material energy is called divine because of its divine connection. Okay. Superior energy is divine. Material energy is called divine because of its superior connection. And it is, and because it is working because of the divine will. Okay, there is one nice example here. Guna also means rope. So that's why we are called Nitya Baddhas. Conditioned souls are Nitya Baddhas because, it could be eternal forever, like, that is why Nitya Baddhas, because living entities who are conditioned by this, they're called, they are eternally conditioned. Illusion can also be eternal. But Nitya Siddhas are somebody who is liberated. Now, Guna as rope. Now, there is one very nice example. Prabhupada says, it's like this. Say, somebody is bound, like my hands are tied. Just a minute. Say my hands are tied. Okay, I am actually conditioned soul, bound by these gunas. And I like a person who has a problem, who is bound by these ropes of illusion, goes to another person who is also bound by the ropes of illusion. So two people who are tied up cannot help each other. That is the condition. When you have a problem, you go to another person who is also similar to you. But that's not how it should be. Actually, you have to approach a spiritual master who is not bound by illusion. He is free, he is liberated. So only such a person can actually help a conditioned soul come out of this miserable condition. So Nitya Baddha, no one can trace out the history of being conditioned. So this is possible only by surrender. Mamevaya prapadyanti, only surrender to Krishna. Only Vishnu is the master of Maya. Actually, it is 8 o'clock. I'll tell you something. We are only halfway through. Shall we meet next Saturday or shall we go on and fast and finish it off? The strength is also low anyway. So what do we do? Based on what you say, we'll go ahead. We can do the rest half of the chapter next Saturday. Shall we do that or shall we go ahead and finish it off in the next half an hour? What do you suggest? Puja Mataji, Anirban Prabhuji and Manor Punjabi ji. Should we just finish it off in the next half an hour or should we wait for next Saturday? Because we have like 20 more slides.
Mataji, better to finish it off.
Better to finish it off, right? Okay. If anyone wants, they can see the recording also because strength also is like, okay. The impious lack knowledge and never surrender to Krishna. The pious develop knowledge and surrender. Okay. Namam duskriti no muda prapadyante naradamaha maya brata asuram bhavamasritaha. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. He's telling these four people never surrender unto me. You will understand this better. See here. Duskritinas are impious people who do not surrender to Krishna. They're grossly foolish, like hard-working donkeys. So the beasts of burden. They don't know why they are working also. They work so hard all the time. They're like Mudas. They don't know the goal of life. Lowest of mankind. They're like Naradhamas. Example is Jagai and Madai. They were so sinful, right? They were disturbing everyone. They were causing so much, they were violent. They wouldn't mind killing also. They were like that, lowest of mankind. They don't worship Krishna. And then they're all impious. Maya Paritagnana means knowledge, those whose knowledge has been stolen by illusory energy. They may call themselves very educated, but that's how it is. Asuram Bhavam Ashrita means they are envious. Like we have many examples of asuras. There are demons, people, atheistic people. They also don't surrender to Krishna. They don't worship Krishna. But all these asuras, they were defeated by the Lord. They were crushed by the Lord Himself. So these these images are for so that we can understand. A donkey is carrying so much burden. All day it carries so much burden that at the end of the day it has to just eat the same grass that was available for free. It's a little bit like very foolish. And then because human life is meant for sacrifices, yajna, and trying to understand much more than what this donkey is doing. That is why. And then Naradhama, the guy in Madai here, and this is Asura, who is like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu. They're all examples. There are atheistic people who do not believe in God, who say God does not exist only. So they are all miscreants like that. For them, it's very, very difficult to understand God. And Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukrino arjuna artho jignasur arthati jnani cha bharatashabha. O best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. 4 kinds of people who surrender. The inquisitive, they are simply frustrated with so many things, and when they come in contact with some pure devotees, they become very inquisitive. They want to find out more about God. So they're very inquisitive. And jnanis are really seeking, the seekers of knowledge, knowledge of the absolute truth. And then artharthi means people who, they are looking for some kind of, there are many examples. We'll go to the next slide so that we understand here. Artharthi means person who is in distress. He also worships Krishna sometimes. These are the 4 kinds of people who worship him anyway. Then Artho, like Dhruva Maharaj, right? He wanted a kingdom greater than his great grandfather. So he wanted wealth. So we see the examples here. These we studied in our 18 days course also. This Gajendra is in distress. Draupadi is in distress. So, Draupadi said, Govinda, help me, right? She also surrendered. And this was, Gajendra also worshipped Krishna. Then here you see Parikshit Maharaj and Shukamuni, Gnani and Inquisitive. See all those people here, the Gnanis and Inquisitive. Sharanya. And then we see Dhruva Maharaj, who wanted wealth, who wanted a kingdom. Artho, Arthati, Jnani and Jignasu. So, we could have discussed, but there's not too many people to discuss. So, anyway, do you have any doubts in this slide? We can discuss if you want. Do you have anything to comment about this slide? Do you know who these people are and what they represent? This is Sugriva. He also wanted kingdom. So, he's also Artho and Artharthi, sorry. But the one who is in distress is these 2 only. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's go to the next. A little more in detail. Pious people, Sukritinas, pious people, adherents of religious principles of scriptures. They follow moral and social laws, more or less devoted to the Supreme Lord. Artha, distress, Artharthi, wealth seeker, Jignasu, inquisitive, Gnani, one who desires knowledge of absolute truth. 4 categories of pious people. Okay, are they pure devotees? No, because they have some aspiration to fulfill in exchange for devotional service. What is pure devotional service? Rendering transcendental loving service favorably without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is pure devotional service. Destiny of Sukritinas. In due course, they associate with pure devotees and get purified. At what stage do Sukritinas become pure devotees? When they are free from all material desires, when they fully understand the material remuneration has nothing to do with spiritual improvement. How rich we are has nothing to do with how spiritual we are, right? They understand this has nothing to do with spiritual, improvement. They can understand all this. So they become free from material desires. For them, devotional service is very difficult because their lives are selfish. Okay, let's go at this. Irregular and without spiritual goals. Okay, if by chance they come in contact with a pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. Like Jagai and Madai, they came in contact of Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's why they were purified. They also became devotees. So if somebody who's very fallen comes in contact of a pure devotee, they become purified. Who is the best among four kinds of pious people? The distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, or gnani. Who is the best? Gnani. Because in full knowledge of the absolute truth and free of material desires, gnani is actually seeking knowledge. He engages in pure devotional service. He'll purify himself, and in future he will engage in devotional service. And Lord is very dear to him, and he becomes dear to the Lord. And one is in pure knowledge of the transcendence of the Supreme Lord. Material contamination cannot touch him. So the others may go away. Distress is over, they go away, they get their wealth, they will leave. The inquisitive also. But Jnani is actually approaching Krishna for the right reason. So that is why he is the best. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service is sure to attain me the highest and most perfect goal. Would you like to recite this one, Prabhu? This verse?
हरे कृष्ण माता जी। उदारा सर्व अवैते ज्ञानी त्वं में मतम अस्तित्वः स हि युक्तात्मा मामेवानुत्मां गतिम्. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnificent souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. And here he is saying, Bahunam janmanam jnanavam mam prapadyate vasudevam sarvamiti samahatma sadurlabaha samahatma sudurlabaha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very, very rare. Just like we saw the slide about marathon, it's like that. They come to realization, though, okay, this is the Supreme Lord, and I have to surrender unto him. In complete knowledge, they surrender. Such a great soul is very rare, he's saying. Okay. Realization of one fully in knowledge. Bhakti is very rare. Okay. Knows that spiritual life is full of activities which are eternal and blissful and not just personalism or voidism. So a real devotee, a person very advanced in spiritual life, he actually knows that, spiritual life means there are activities to be performed and there are eternal blissful activities to be performed in the spiritual world. And spirituality is not just, impersonalism or voidism. So they understand material world is a perverted reflection of spiritual activities. So he understands Lord as the cause of all causes and thus realizes a universal vision of Vasudeva. Sees all in relation to Lord. Whenever they look at like Pandita Samadarshina, they understand every living entity is part and parcel of the Lord. And this vision precipitates full surrender to Krishna as the highest goal. Realizes the dependence on Supreme Lord's mercy. Is completely dependent on Krishna. He is purified actually. So there is no sinful reactions because he's only a sinner will always be in fear. What if I get caught? What if I get caught? So this kind of anxiety, all this will come. But a person who is purified of all these impurities is actually totally dependent on Krishna. Is just worried about serving the Lord, nothing else. So, and then he gives up attachment to materialism, and there is some leaning towards impersonalism in the beginning stages, but as they advance, they understand, there is in spiritual life, there is actually work to be done. There are activities. And those activities are done to please the Lord only. Others who have no knowledge, those who surrender to demigods, those who are impersonalists. So we'll learn about those who surrender to demigods. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. It's like this in Vedas also, recommendation is there actually. If you want something, you can worship a demigod. So people who want education, they worship goddess Saraswati. People who want a very beautiful wife, they worship goddess Uma. Like this, there are many demigods. People go to ask for some benediction. But actually, the Lord who is in their heart, they are also living entities. So Paramatma is in our heart, Paramatma is in their heart also. So Krishna is only sanctioning through them. So he's saying, I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. It's like he is not interfering in our independence. Okay, want this? Okay, fine. You will get it. And he is actually helping us through the demigod. That is how it is. They are not independent. We are also not independent. The demigods are also not independent. The demigods are working under the Lord only, according to his instructions. So men of small intelligence worship the demigods and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Nothing moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not even a blade of grass can move. Okay, there are many stories in Bhagavatam to say that. So we can understand. People who worship demigods, they are not going to Goloka Vrindavana. And impersonalists, they will also not reach Goloka Vrindavana. Only people, who are engaged in devotional service, only they have a chance to enter Goloka Vrindavana. They reach Krishna's lotus feet. Why demigod worshippers considered as less intelligent? Why? Intelligence stolen by material desires. Fruits are limited and temporary. Whatever benedictions we get from demigods, they're all temporary. This whole material manifestation is only temporary. They're also living beings like us, living entities. Basis of choice of worship, different modes and natures. According to that, they choose different demigods. Lack of knowledge about Krishna. That's why they are considered less intelligent. Krishna is the source of everything. They lack this knowledge. Krishna makes faith steady, required by a living entity to worship demigods. Krishna bestows benefits through the demigods to living entities. Result, they go to demigod planets. Okay, this keeps one in the material world, which is a place of misery. Krishna's devotees. Okay. Result is go to supreme planet Krishna. Result of demigod worship are all perishable. Result of devotional service unto Krishna is unlimited and eternal. That's what actually Krishna is advising Arjuna now. He is taking him towards eternity. Arjuna was thinking about temporary benefits, but actually he's engaged in devotional service. The service of the Lord, which is like, which will have eternal benefits, is actually what he is doing. After the 18th chapter, we understand that it was nothing but Bhakti Yoga. He's going to fight because Krishna wants him to fight, and it's actually, done it devotion. So let's go ahead. Demigod worshippers, their nature, they follow Karma Kanda section of the Vedas, attracted to material enjoyment, seeks quick results. The philosophy. Would you like to read this, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Demigod worshippers, nature, follows Karma Kanda sections of the Vedas, attracted to material enjoyment, seeks quick results. Philosophy believes that one who worships a demigod can reach the Supreme Lord, accepts demigods as equal to Krishna. There are many gods. A particular demigod is supreme instead of Krishna. This world is meant for enjoyment, goal, dharma, artha, and kama. mentality
This
and
is their
attitude.
philosophy. You can understand. So, just a minute.
I am the
Yes, sir,
enjoyer.
we can understand. Okay. Okay, finish reading. Okay, bro. Go ahead.
Mentality and attitude. I am the enjoyer, desires superior enjoyment in higher planets, false prestige, intelligence lost due to lusty desires, action, performs prescribed duties, worships demigods, performs sacrifice. Result, he achieves higher planetary systems and enjoys until his poised results are exhausted and then returns to the material planets. Hare Krishna Madhu.
Krishna Prabhu. By reading this philosophy, we understand there are many people who are like that, right? They think they can't understand the demigod. They are like very confused because there is one God and all others are demigods. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. That we get, that information we get. But there are many who believe like this, right? They think demigod is also equal to God, and they may think they are supreme, and the world is meant for enjoyment, dharma, artha, kama, this is the goal. So we can understand by reading all this, and their action is their mentality is the I'm the enjoyer, and they have false prestige. Their intelligence is lost due to lusty desires. So if they are into karma kanda activities, they can go to higher planetary systems, but then they have to come back again. Okay. 10 more slides are there. We'll just finish. Avyaktam vyaktim apannam manyante mam abuddhaya param bhavam ajananto mamavyayam anuttamam. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. He himself is saying this. He is imperishable and he is the supreme. नाम प्रकाश सर्वस्य योग माया समावृतः मूढ़ो अयम नाभिजानाति लोको माम अजम अव्ययम. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my eternal creative potency, Yoga Maya. And so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. When he was here also, many did not know him. Shishupala was envious of him. Only Pandavas, Bhishma, they could actually recognize him. So for non-devotees, it's very difficult to understand Krishna. Lord Krishna never manifests to the foolish and unintelligent. The qualification of understanding Lord Krishna, only pure devotees like Pandavas, Bhishma and few others, except devotees, all consider him as ordinary. Result of being impersonal is they do not know Lord as unborn and infallible. Supreme Lord hides from foolish and unintelligent. Lord gets covered by his internal potency. It is like the sun is covered by cloud, and we can say there's no sun, but actually sun is there always. Whether it is night or whether it's covered by cloud, sun is always there. It does not disappear anywhere, right? It just be our vision may say something. It's like that. God is always there. It's our vision that is. So we say it's covered by cloud or Maya is covering. Actually, because of our imperfect vision, we are not able to realize Krishna. So knowing Krishna as the source of both the material and spiritual energies, that is very important. That is what this chapter is talking about. Oh Arjuna, as the supreme personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. O Sian of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. So this is creation. This is Krishna's verdict. He's telling he knows past, present, and what is going to come next, everything. He's saying all this. So we know his position. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. And if we see any devotees, performing devotional service, we should understand that actually their sinful life is over. It's not easy to reach this state. They would have already performed so many pious activities. It takes some kind of benediction to reach. We have gotten a chance to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and understand and have access to all these books and everything. That itself is a big benediction for us. So when we see somebody elevated devotee, we should understand that they are very, very elevated, very different from the rest of the world who are under the illusion of Maya. So how living entities are covered by Maya? Desire and hatred cause them to be bewildered by dualities. Desiring to enjoy separate from Krishna are put under Maya. We want to enjoy. We want to be the proprietors. We want to enjoy away from Krishna, separate. We want to be independent. That is why, this effects or manifestations of illusory energy, duality of desire and hate. Symptoms of such delusion: wants to become one with the Lord. People, they want to become, original sinful desire, the living entity. Envies Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thinks Supreme Personality of Godhead is created by material energy. Manifestations of dualities of delusion or dishonor, honor, good, bad, pleasure, pain, man, woman, etc. How can they get free from the coverings of Maya? Recognize Krishna's supremacy, become a devotee of Krishna. That is acting in real constitutional position. This is how, by doing this, recognizing Krishna's supremacy, we should understand that he is the supreme, he is the controller, he is the enjoyer, he is the proprietor. Then we become his devotee. Only then we can become free from coverings of Maya. Okay. I'm so sorry again. We're almost towards the end of the chapter, few more slides, and my internet is giving me trouble. I'll share my screen just a minute. Okay, almost done. Okay. Qualifications of a devotee. We read this. Okay. Qualifications of a devotee to perform determined devotional service. Let's read this. For whom is it difficult to transcend the dualities of desire and hate? Those who are sinful, atheistic, foolish, and deceitful. For them, it's very difficult. Impersonalists lack the following knowledge. One who forgets one's position as subordinate to Lord, that is greatest violation of God's law. Okay, sinful actions are completely eradicated. These are the qualifications. acted piously in this and previous lives, ceasing to act according to desire and hate, freedom from dualities of delusion. How to be situated on the spiritual platform? Who can accept this process? Those who live practicing the regulative principles of religion, who have acted piously and who have conquered sinful reactions. Next step, gradually they can meditate in trance on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Best process. This elevation is possible in Krishna consciousness in the association of pure devotees. So only a Krishna conscious person, a devotee of Krishna, a pure devotee can understand Krishna and can really, come out of this illusory material energy, come out of this, Maya is actually, controlling. So only he can come out of that. Non-devotees cannot understand Krishna. Okay. There is result also, we'll read this. So devotees traverse the earth to recover the conditioned souls from their delusion, and that is their mercy. Like Prabhupada, and there are so many spiritual masters like Goswamis and so many of them. They traverse earth, they come here so they recover. They can give us Krishna consciousness. They are trying to help us. That's their mercy. And then living entities can get liberation from bewilderment by devotional service or Krishna consciousness. Association with materialistic people is a path to darkest region of existence. And then association of great devotees, they open doors to liberation. It will open doors to liberation. So it's very, very important to associate with pure devotees. Charamara mokshaya mamashritya yatanti ye brahma tadvidhu kritsnam adhyatmam karma chakhilam. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They're actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. See here, old age, death is mentioned, right? Birth, death, old age, disease, all this is all this is for the material body only. The spiritual body does not have death. It does not have to undergo all this birth, death, old age, disease. So aham brahmasmi, I am spirit. A living entity who has actually realized this, that he is Brahman, he is the spirit soul. This Brahman conception of life, you can realize that in pure devotional service. So Krishna mentioned this term Brahman here. So in the next chapter, he is going to elaborate on that and many other things that are related to Brahman and many other things he will whatever is mentioning here. So Arjuna, based on that, he will ask questions now in the next chapter, and he will answer that. So this is very important. Next is Prabhu. Do you want to recite this one?
Yes, Mataji. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service.
Prabhu, would you like to recite this verse, this shloka?
Yes, Mataji.
Not able to hear you.
7.29. Jara Manam
Puja
Mokshaya.
Mataji, would you like to recite? We are actually one more slide and we are done with this chapter.
Yes, Mataji.
I'm so sorry again. Almost done. Okay. Yeah, I'll only research this. Internet is also weird. It's another one more slide and we are done. Okay. Sadibhutadidavam mam sadiyajnam cha ye vidu prayanakale api cha mam te vidur yukta chetasaha. Those in full consciousness of me who know me the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigod and of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. Okay, this he'll elaborate on in the next chapter also. He's telling a person who is not deviating from his devotional service, he understands, he's Drida Vrataha. Drida Vrata means very determined. Such a person, even at the time of death, will not forget Krishna. So naturally, he'll be promoted to the supreme planet, Goloka Vrindavana. So how do we stay in that consciousness that, this is Bhishma Dev. When he was leaving his body, he saw Krishna. Krishna was present, right? That is the highest benediction one can get. So if we are in that consciousness, hope you heard me. Actually, one more slide and we are actually done. It's like so funny. So whoever is Drudavata, who, who is very determined in his devotional service, even at the time of death, he'll not forget Krishna and he definitely will reach Goloka Vrindavana. So this little information here. Devotees can know Krishna at death and go back to him. How to become Krishna conscious? It begins with association of devotees, surety of person acting in Krishna consciousness, never deviated from path of entirely understanding, understand Krishna in transcendental association, understand Lord as governing principle of material manifestation and even demigods. Gradually, they become convinced of the supreme personality of Godhead. At time of death, he can never forget Krishna and promoted to Goloka Vrindavana. So Adi Bhuta, Adi Deva, and Adi Yagna. Okay. So Drudha determined faith, beginning of bhakti. Conviction that simply by hearing and glorifying Supreme Lord, all the objectives will be fulfilled. So that's a pure devotion. Okay, the last slide, we were just doing the summary and it went. I'm so sorry, we'll just. Slide, so don't have to worry, we'll just finish it quickly. And, the 3 modes are controlled by Krishna, therefore surrender. The impious lack knowledge and never surrender to Krishna. The pious develop knowledge and surrender. Others who have no knowledge, those who surrender to demigods, those are impersonalists. The bewilderment of the living entity and his freedom to knowledge of Krishna. Okay, so hearing about Krishna reveals knowledge about Krishna's material and spiritual energies. Then we saw 4 types of pious people worship Krishna, 4 types of impious people don't worship Krishna. Some worship demigods, some become impersonalists, and one who is free from sins can do determined bhakti. Since Krishna mentioned Brahman and things like that, some items like that, he will elaborate on them in chapter 8. So we'll stop sharing. Finished chapter 7.